Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the Kitchen. Today we're got a pretty busy day. I like to have ready to eat canned chili on my pantry shelf. This was actually canned in March of 2022. This is my last pint. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the beans to do their long soak. I probably won't get to making the chili today, but I do want to get the beans soaking. So the research that I've done on the internet saying for each pound of dry beans you should get 4 pints of beans. While I'm making chili with meat, seasoning, tomatoes, water, all the good stuff, and doing a little calculations, I'm figuring I could get 6 pints out of 1 pound of beans with all the other ingredients. So in this bowl I have 3 pounds of beans. We're going to rinse these and go ahead and get them in a soak. I do add a little bit of apple cider vinegar and it just to help with the gassiness of the beans. The husband loves taking hard-boiled eggs to work. So right over there I have the Instant Pot. We're going to go ahead and cook 10 eggs for him to have for the week. And I went ahead and took a bag of our whole cut up chicken we did last week, and I got that thawing. Hopefully I can make that for dinner today. If not, I'll make it for tomorrow. We need to make some more pizzas to go in our freezer. So you saw the grocery haul. We bought 2 pounds of mozzarella cheese. We need to go ahead and get that shredded up and get our dough in the refrigerator to do its rise. But first, let's move over there to the eggs, and then we'll go ahead and get started on the beans. So I do have this strainer liner that I put the eggs in. This is actually for a 6-quart Instant Pot, but I do have an 8-quart. So I just want to put enough water in here to where it's just showing through the holes at the bottom of the strainer. Put the insert inside this Instant Pot. I got 10 eggs. And I do start off with cold water. On the steam function, I have it set for 6 minutes. So I let it steam or cook for 6 minutes, and then I let it sit in here natural release for 5 minutes, and then I will pressure release this and then let it sit in cold water for an additional 5 minutes. So that is it for the Instant Pot. In the sink I have a strainer. We're going to go ahead and strain our beans. So I'm just going to rinse these out, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull out anything that looks irregular or rocks or anything. 3-gallon stock pot. I've got it halfway full with water. I'm going to put a big dollop of apple cider vinegar, maybe 1/4 cup. And then we're just going to let this sit for at least 8 hours. And now we're going to go ahead and get started on our pizza dough. I need 4 teaspoons of yeast. And if you are new here, I keep my yeast in a gallon size Ziploc bag. inside a gallon size reusable Ziploc bag, and I just keep this in my freezer just like this. A total of 3 cups of water, 1/4 cup of sugar, and we're just going to let that bloom. We're going to use a dough hook, 4 teaspoons of salt, 1/4 cup of olive oil. I'll put 4 in at first. We're going to end up with 8 cups total of flour. The Instant Pot did it 6 minutes under the steam function, and I'm going to let it sit for another 5 minutes. We are actually at 3 minutes right now. Then we'll go ahead and take that out, and we will put it in cold water and let it sit for another 5 minutes. But back to the pizza dough. Okay, then we're going to take it over to the bench and hand knead this. It's been 5 minutes. I'm going to hit cancel. And to manually press release to keep the steam from steaming all your cabinet, just take a dry towel, put it on top of the vent, and that way you can contain the steam just a bit. Then I want to empty out the hot water, then I will put cold water till the eggs are covered for 5 minutes. Alright, so they're covered with water, and I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes, then we'll peel these. Now, as I showed you in the past, I save the oiled Ziploc bags in the freezer in between uses when I'm making pizza dough. I'm just going to hand knead it just a little bit. I'm going to try not to add any flour, but I do have it ready if I do need to add some. Using the dough to pick up any particles that have fallen off to get it all nice and corporate. And this actually makes 4 pizzas. Alright, that looks like a beautiful dough. And you can weigh this, divide that by 4, and come up with the individual pizzas. Personally, I am just going to eyeball it into 4 even pieces. That looks about right. I'm going to shape it into a ball. Pinch the ends. Just give it a little flat. Continue on to the rest of them. Now, if your family enjoys pizza and you don't want to go through the hassle of making a dough and all that stuff, each time your teenagers want pizza, make your own freezer pizzas. Stop buying them. This will save you so much money, so much time, and then you can control what goes in and on your pizza. So here are my 4 bags with oil already in there. Alright, I'm going to put these in the refrigerator and let them rise. It'll take about 2 hours in the refrigerator. And I do save my eggshells. I'm just going to put them on this paper towel over here so we can go ahead and let them dry up. And I'm putting the eggs on this paper towel so we can dry those before we put them in the refrigerator. Put a paper towel on the bottom of my container. I'm just going to try to dry these eggs off as best as I can. Now we have eggs for the week for the husband in the refrigerator. As for the shells, I'm just going to leave them on this paper towel until they dry, and then we'll crush them up and we'll put those in a Ziploc bag. And this is the eggshells from last week. We'll just add these in here once they're dry. And a little trick, if you put your mozzarella in the freezer just for about 15-20 minutes, it'll make it easier to shred. So that's what I did while we were making the pizza dough and cooking the eggs. I put these in the freezer. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut them into smaller bricks so we can feed it through our feeder on our shredder. Alright, so putting the cheese into the feeder. I cut them into quarters. I have a bowl to catch it. And that is 2 pounds of cheese right there. Go ahead and do the other brick now. Now, if you don't have a KitchenAid and if you don't have a shredder, that's okay. You can actually use a box shredder, or you can use one of these plain shredders that you can shred on. But if you look at the ingredients on already shredded cheese in the store, you're going to see some ingredients that you're unfamiliar with. Like, for instance, this is not the best quality of cheese. It's a Walmart brand, low moisture mozzarella. But the ingredient says pasteurized part skim milk, cheese cultures, salt, and enzymes. That is all that's in this cheese. It's not organic. It's not, you know, grass-fed cows. It's just the cheap Walmart brick cheese. But if you're looking at shredded cheese, look at the ingredients. There are ingredients in there that you might not want. Go ahead and look up some cheese at the Walmart website. Okay, we got some shredded mozzarella right here. Let's see if we can find the ingredient list. Low moisture part skim mozzarella cheese, pasteurized part skim milk, cheese culture, salt, and enzyme. Then it has, that's the same as this, but then it has anti-caking blend, potato starch, tapioca starch, niacin, a natural mold inhibitor. We don't need an anti-mold inhibitor to our cheese because we're actually going to shred this today and make pizzas today. And even though it's not the best quality of mozzarella, at least we can control the additives that pre-shredded mozzarella has in it. So that's why we're doing it ourselves. Now, if you don't have the KitchenAid attachment for shredded cheese, just get a handheld shredder and just go through here. Now, this is where freezing your cheese for about 15-20 minutes will come in handy, because then it won't tear apart. This is actually probably a half a pound of cheese right here that I saved just to do it this way. Just watch your knuckles, because this is a knuckle buster. That's it a bit. I'm just going to break up with my fingers. And that's it. And that's our mozzarella for our pizza. And I'm going to put this in the refrigerator until we are ready to make our pizzas. I got the oven preheating to 400 degrees. That is my pizza setting. I have the pizza stone in the oven also that we got from Azure a couple months ago. On the countertop, I went ahead and took the pizza dough out of the refrigerator, and they have risen beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and start making our pizzas. So I do store these in the freezer on parchment paper. Par cook these one at a time. And again, we're going to save our Ziploc bags. This is the sauce we had left over when we made our mini meatball Parmesan sliders. It has been in the refrigerator for 4 days, so I'm going to use that. In addition, I have 1 can of pizza sauce also. Just going around the dough and flatten it out. picking it up off the parchment paper just so it doesn't stick, and start bringing it back in, curling up the parchment paper. You can make it as thin as you like. We like ours just not thin but not thick. If I had to guess, I would say about 14 inches in diameter. I put just a light sauce initially, and then I will put the rest of the sauce once it comes out of the oven par cooked. I use the pizza pan just to transfer it into the oven. I do not cook it on the pizza pan. I cook it on the pizza stone on the parchment paper. So that's the pizza stone, the parchment paper, and the pizza. While the first pizza is cooking, we're going to go ahead and get started on the second one. Second one going in. So I put them on cardboard just to hold them flat while they're in the freezer. So I like a little color on them. So I'm adding a little bit more sauce. And this is the cheese we shredded earlier today. Those big pieces, it's not going to matter. They'll melt in the oven when we're ready to cook them, no problem. And we leave ours just cheese, and then when we're ready to cook them, we'll add pepperoni on it. And I put another parchment paper on top, and then once it's cooled off completely, we'll wrap it up in saran wrap. Let's go ahead and get another one ready. And I do reuse my cardboard. I've got some that are canning jar boards. It doesn't really matter. I just try to keep these clean and away from the food. That's why I put it on parchment paper. And then we just store these until we're ready to make pizza again. Second pizza. Not that I weigh the cheese to go on the pizza, but I know it takes about a half a pound of cheese per pizza. And we did 4 pounds, so I know I should have 2 pounds that I'm not using today. So I got the kitchen scale out. I tiered it off for this Ziploc bag. We're going to go ahead and measure 2 pounds for the next time we need to make pizzas. Okay. That is 2 pounds of mozzarella. I'm just going to put this in the freezer for the next time we need to make pizzas. This will be exactly the amount to make 4 more pizzas. And I'm going to put my Ziploc bags back in the freezer. Have a little bit of cheese left. We're going to go ahead and add some cheese to these other pizzas. And as soon as they all cool off, we'll wrap them up and stick them in the freezer. Okay, the pizzas are cooling off to go in the freezer. We're going to go ahead and get started on cooking the chicken for dinner. Doesn't look like I'm going to get to the chili today, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to empty the water that's in the beans, the vinegar water, and then we're going to go ahead and put some fresh water in them and just stick them in the refrigerator till tomorrow. We got coconut oil in this pan, heating up. I have 2 bowls. One we're going to put a couple eggs in it. The other one we're going to put flour and cornstarch. Got 2 eggs. We'll add about a 1/4 cup of water. I have 2 cups of flour. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, a tablespoon of Italian seasoning, teaspoon of onion powder, teaspoon of garlic powder, teaspoon of red pepper flakes. We're going to mix that really well. Our chicken pieces, bone in. We're going to just put some pepper on there and some salt. This is the same chicken we cut up last week. We have our assembly line. So what we're going to do is go flour, egg, flour, and into the hot oil. So we're going to start with the bigger pieces, which are the breast meat. We're going to put meat side down. I have the oven set on 350 because we're going to cook these in the pan. Then we're going to finish them in the oven. I have a baking sheet with parchment paper on it. Ready for us to move the chicken over there when we're ready. We just want to get a nice crisp on the breading before we flip it, before we put it in the oven. So we get some nice beautiful color. Now I'm going to do the thighs. Beautiful color on that one. We're just turning over the breast meat right now. And I like cooking in the cast iron skillet when I'm frying chicken. One, the oil will season my pan to keep it from sticking. And two, the chicken won't stick because the pan is seasoned. Now the chicken wings are going into the flour mix and into the frying pan. Now this is the whole chicken we cut up together last week. It is 12 pieces. Now we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven. It's probably going to take about an hour. Now we're going to go ahead and wrap up our pizzas for the freezer. So I use 2 pieces of saran wrap. then I turn it a quarter turn, and then I wrap the other way. And that's one pizza. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the pizzas in the freezer. Got the chicken in the oven. It's only been 6 minutes since we did that. We're going to let it cook for an hour. In the meantime, I need to wash dishes. Okay, so it's been an hour since we put the chicken in the oven. We're going to check the temperature. Alright, so we're going to go into the meatiest part of the breast. And the breast needs to be 160 degrees, not touching a bone. Okay, so that's reading 180 degrees. Now we're going to go into a thigh. Try not to catch that bone that runs in the center. This needs to be 170 degrees. And we are well over 200 degrees. So our chicken is done. We're just going to taste one of the wings. Oh, it's falling off the bones. It's perfect. So here's some breading and some chicken. Perfectly seasoned. That is so good. Serve this with a salad, some green beans, which I might make. I'll make that green bean casserole I showed you a couple weeks ago. This is really good. So get you caught up on the chili. I did drain those beans from the vinegar water, put them back in the same pot with some fresh water, and I put them in the refrigerator. We're going to actually get that till tomorrow and make our chili and can it. So until then, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, friends. And I'm just going to finish this chicken wing.